makeup and everything good.
Will there be more sessions like there were in Sabbathany last week?
You were there.
Yes, there was.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Happy New Day.
Happy New Day, and welcome to our sisterhood, motherhood. Welcome to Black Mothers Suns Rising. SUN Sun Rising. It was great again this morning, and SON Suns Rising. We are hopeful that those of you in the community who are listening with us and will begin to talk with us too. Today we would like very much if you have comments, even if you have comments or takeaways from the last session that we had, which was so powerful. Mm-hmm. I hope that you will let us know, make comments, and we do have almost our full team here this morning, so that if you make comments, there's someone who can watch the chat and let us know what your questions are, what your comments are. So again, welcome. I'm Atuma Zahir, and I'm really grateful to be here. As at the Cultural Wellness Center. Anytime we are able to be together, it's a really amazing blessing. We are 27 years old, and really have been in this building, I think, for about half of that. It's about 10, maybe 12 years in this space. With me this morning, of course, also sisters who were here last week, and I want to give them a moment to think about last time. Oh, there were so many things that said. Just think about the things that you took away last time, that you continue to see yourself or feel yourself really wanting to cry about because it was so revealing and so thought-provoking. So think back on the last time. One of our sisters who had some very powerful sharing is not here, Sister Opal, but she sends her regards, and she is traveling. So we want to send her some good traveling, safe energy. So think about it for a moment. One of the takeaways from the last time that you had that you thought about this week. Sometimes I can't remember the words, but I can remember, as Sister Maya Angelou said, the feeling. I remember that I felt, number one, uplifted. And I also felt, in some cases, called out. Not because people were calling out, but I felt called out from the point of view of that each of you who I, of course, think to be so much younger than me, you were describing something that you're experiencing or have experienced with your children, with your sons, and in many cases with your sons and daughters, that I too have experienced. And I think people know that I have all sons, have 4 sons, gave birth to 4 sons, and 5 granddaughters. So there is something in the universe that's saying we really need to have a balance. So the other thing I left with last time was the discussion the comments that you made about the desire or the need for us to, as mothers, as mamas, as having such a close connection with Creator and creation, that has given us a certain kind of I'm going to say spiritual power, but there's a certain kind of power of knowing, not just power, but power of knowing, power of intuiting, and a power of also learning. I particularly remember that we learned from some of the teachings that our children give us, young children. I do remember, don't hold my hand like that. Hold my hand when you have some correction to make. Don't hold my wrist. And I remember all of us being able to connect that to this idea that we're being dragged down the street, or something that we remember that says, if you hold my hand, I feel you touching me. But if you hold my wrist, it's almost like you're dragging me. And that is not the same as giving me love. So I know I added to what was said, but that was one thing that showed how the gestures, sometimes the gestures that we make speak louder than words. There were other things like that that you said. So I'd like you to say who you are this morning, and if you can go back to last week, and what did you take away that you thought about a lot this week? So Hotep, good morning, and let's just start.
What?
Hotep, good morning. My name is Sister Peace, and my oldest son is 27 as well, just as old as the Cultural Wellness Center is. So that's my oldest. My middle son is 21, and my youngest son is 18. And I also have a grandson, and I just found out that I might have another one coming. So I'm grateful for that. Last time, like you, Elder, I very much remember how I felt. And I'm thankful for Sister Letitia and her tears evoked tears for me. And I always feel lighter when I'm able to cry. And so I was very, very grateful for that. And very grateful for the spirits in the room, the energy in the room. I did not get to say my takeaway and what I was thinking. I was crying and you allowed space for that, and I'm grateful for that. But what I was thinking as I was preparing to speak was my takeaway was the teachers, allowing our children to be our teachers. So that's what sticks with me.
Okay, thank you. Hotel.
My name is Sister Letitia, and I am the proud mother of 4 sons. My oldest is 30.
I don't know if they can hear you.
My oldest is 30. I have one under him that's 24, then a 19, and then a 15-year-old. I have 4 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. And I think what stuck with me and what played out through the rest of the evening and the week was the rising for the sun. In different situations, I felt like that I felt like I seen it happen where the mother had to rise for her son. And I often feel like, I have to for mine, but I think that's what stuck with me, the rising of the sun and the rising for the sun. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So my name is Elder Pam James, and I think the thing that stuck with me was just the feeling that I was getting in the space, and how important, how you don't stop to think about these things very often. You just keep it moving because that's the way life is. And the fact that I said I had 7 grandsons, but I have 8. And I thought about that a lot when I left here the other day. Left somebody else.
Thank you. Peace and blessings and love. What really stuck with me was that the Cultural Wellness Center had no hot sauce.
Period. Period.
And I knew it was emergency for our sons to rise. One thing that stuck out to me was was the rising and the falling,
Mm.
and just it adds to what I already kind of am meditating on and thinking about, and just trying to keep at the forefront of my mind, which is patience and faith. And just knowing that, because I'm always trying to catch them before they fall. And I'm always trying to like make sure that they think I'm still cool and I'm still great, and that our relationship is just dandy, So sometimes I'm like just quickly trying to fix it right away, like we tend to do, I know I can tend to do, where I'm like, oh, something's not right in the relationship, it needs to be fixed immediately, instead of having some patience and faith, allowing people's other, other senses and things to play fully out. You know what I mean? Play fully out, in order for like true depth of healing, or depth of, just letting the process go all the way out, instead of making sure that everything's wrapped up nicely and it's all finished and everybody's good with each other, when they haven't like gone through each step. And I tend to not like how that feels when people are going through their steps, and that feeling of uncertainty if what the children think of me, or what's going on. Sometimes I'm trying to rush the what I call it, the repair. I'm trying to rush the repair, and not using enough patience and faith to just trust that it's going to work out and we're going to be good, and it might take some time, and it takes time to, for people to work their steps or whatever is going on, whatever ways to make sure that they get those checkpoints, almost like immunity or something, where like you have to like eat some dirt, you know what I'm saying? Or like, like you got to make sure that you kind of like, don't rush the medicine or whatever, because it might just take away the things that your body's trying to alert you about, or like, you're not really building your system as well. So I don't know. I was like thinking,
Yes.
thank you. I feel heard.
Beautiful.
I'm Roberta, and I thought about all week long, I thought about the rising and the falling, but what I picked up this week is that we have a tendency to see the negative, and I was determined to focus on the positive of what my sons got from me, so that, because you can have a tendency to beat up on yourself as a mother, wondering if I had did this, or if I didn't do this, how would they be? And I'm just so grateful that even the times that they failed, they got back up. And that's a great thing.
Yes. Once again, you remind me, Miss Roberta, of, you talk about the falling, and I remember the last time I was thinking of the sun actually doesn't fall.
No,
It rises.
sets.
Yeah, it sets. And so the rising and setting of the sun, and could somebody say from which direction does the sun rise?
East.
And set.
Are you? Is it a statement, or are you just trying to say it to see if everyone is agree with you? From which direction does the sun rise?
The East, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Is that really funny? Okay, you should add. You don't have Google here, but I know if you had your phone, you would have really liked to Google right then. But think about the East. Okay, the East. And right now, as we think about the East, and we're not talking St. Paul as in the east, but think about the east. What else comes to mind for you? Once again, as what comes from the east, and therefore the sun sets in the
West.
so the rising and setting of the sun, the rising from the east, setting in the west. Is that intentional to have those two directions, which could be considered opposites or could be considered other ends of the same spectrum? But what else could it be if you think about the east and the west, the rising from the east and setting from the west?
What I think about is the East and the West never come together, but the North and the South does.
Oh, is that right?
Mhm.
Say more, Mr. Bernardine. You can't stop right there.
Teach.
And I think about, when I think about the East, I think about the warmth. I think about more daylight in the East than it is in the West. And one of the reasons why we have to change our timing all the time so that we gain more daylight, at certain parts of the year. But and then it goes back to Psalms and Proverbs. It says that our sins will be as far from us as the east is from the west, and he remembers them no more. And yeah,
So the north and the south. So I appreciate your helping us to realize the Bible says something about the east and the west.
but no,
But does the Bible say something about the north and the south?
yeah.
Oh, tell us what.
When the people were being delivered from Egypt, they traveled a northward path that took them to the Red Sea, and then the Red Sea, you call it the Red Sea escape, where the people of the Israelites walked through the Red Sea on dry land. And so they were coming from the east. And Lord, if I got it wrong, some Bible scholars, please forgive me. But they were in the east, but their direction was going north. Because most of the time when people think north is up and south is down, but it depends on where you are, whether it's up or down or sideways. So
Now, I hope that the people in the community can see the expression on all of our faces because people are kind of looking at Mr. Bird and saying, "What?" but I want you to get this. I think the metaphorical description of things, and whether it is in the sacred text, the Bible is one of those. There is a metaphorical usage of all things that we know, but we don't know that we know. So the sun rising from a particular direction and setting in a direction has metaphorical meaning and teaching. And it all goes, and so that is signified to me and is proven by the fact that you see it in the sacred text and in the major stories. Those of you who know that we study Kemet
right.
also know that when you talk about how Egypt is treated in terms of the story of the people, we will at some point maybe do a whole class on that in terms of how that has affected our sense of ourselves and the sense of ourselves that has to do with where we came from, you know, where we're going, and this kind of survival. The kind what are the methods, the techniques that we have used to survive, and are those methods and techniques grounded in something that comes from a sacred teaching? So sometimes I just love when something that is so simple and seem common turns into a major metaphysical teaching. And so that's why I wanted you to think about the directions from which the sun comes. I certainly didn't have any idea that Mr. Roberta is a Bible scholar, and I appreciate that. But I appreciate it very much that you use it, I understand, as a part of your understanding of what is happening and why it's happening. So I want to get to also this concept of the mama, the mother, the woman, the womb, as we talked about last time. And we, at the end, I mentioned to you that this is the 50th year that this place is developing a celebration that has to do with human origins. And this particular article that Sister Peace is going to print out for each of you it talks about the Institute of Human Origins, and it's one of the preeminent research organizations in the world devoted to the science of human origins. Now, once again, this is a big idea and a major institution. And both of you and all of you know that I consider the Culture Wellness Center as a major institution that has to do with us beginning to put together, piece together our own story of our own origins. So when we talk about our heritage, we talk about our history, we're talking about the origins. We're not talking about, we don't start with the enslavement of our people. We start with far back, not recent, but ancient. And so it again comes up in the sacred text, because each text from each community, a religious community, the religious worlds that we all live in and within, have an idea and an understanding of human origins. So, and a teaching around it. And with one of the things that, once again, I want with this piece for you to think about is our institution here is asking us to study the Black mamas, contract with the Creator, connection to the Creator, that gives us a similar continuity as the rising sun. A similar continuity that even during the days of the Willie Lynch syndrome is something that each of us know about. And we know the telling of that story. But we also know Daughters of the Dust. We also know the lasting capacity, and many stories of the lasting capacity of the woman, and the lasting capacity of what we think of as the ingredients of the womb. So I hope that it makes sense to you why we have to do this piece about Black mamas or mothers rising, and the continuity, the consistency, the groundedness, the never changingness of the mama, as it relates to the comparison between us and the rising of the sun, and the birth that we give to our sons. And once again, they turned this thing around and said the raising of our daughters and the loving of our sons. And so I keep repeating that because I want you to, once again, see how things become almost like proverbs that are created and said to us. So this idea of the human origins and the person that is being talked about has been named Lucy by these researchers. And they talked about Lucy was found, and it tells by whom, at the site of the Hadar in Ethiopia. They had spent months, and they're trying to get the oldest human skeletal, the oldest kind of human skeletal, or the oldest skeletal, or old skeletal evidence of who and how long have the human beings, been on the planet, and where did it begin? And here we have this particular group speaking to it having begun in Ethiopia. And the science and the celebration of that finding is now 50 years. So we want the Cultural Wellness Center, as we begin to study ourselves in the way that you are studying ourselves, we want that to begin to be celebrated as others are celebrating human origins by what you say about our mama and the role of the mother. So now, Miss Roberta, it's all your fault that I had to do that sermon. So now that I've finished my sermon, I don't hear no amens yet. But I would love, did you, oh, you did feel an amen coming on.
I even felt a little hallelujah.
A little hallelujah. But last time you all were in the hallelujah, we were doing it. So who would like to just think about your origins in the way that the scientists have now? Think about the skeletal, the nature of your origin as a mama, a mother, a woman, a womb holder. Think about that. That's what I want to think about, as it has given birth to the rising sun. And the sun rises from the east, sets in the west. If there's anything there you want to add about the east as you think of it, and the west as you think of it, the rising and setting of the sun, please jump in. Please jump in. By the way, Sister Peace, you and I had this discussion. Sister Peace and I had a discussion about whether or not this story is, if we can trust the story because of who is telling it. If we can really trust the story. And so I don't want you to go down that path this morning, because I feel like we talked about that. But today we're going to pretend we trust the story. So what do you want to say? I'm not calling on you, but I just remember that was a major discussion that you and I had. Other people, what do you think about this? Please. What do you think about it?
I'm not sure what I think about it.
Do you want us to help you?
I'm not sure what I think about it. Partly because of the things that I've learned as a person who's been taught by yourself and Elder Saba, is that they make the story look the way they intend for it to look, and how much reality is in it.
Now is who we're talking about.
Whoever wrote it.
Whoever, okay.
And the purpose. And the thing that I thought mostly about when you were speaking was the East and the West. They're always at war. And
In the world.
In the world, yes.
Okay.
And I have often wondered how intentional that is. And then the last thought that I had was that the origin of my sons and I'm sure other mothers have the same feeling, is that, can I think about that a little bit more?
Well, finish your sentence though. It's there. I feel it wanting to come out. So just say it.
So I think that the love that we give our sons is so critical and so valuable in how we nurture them in whatever situation they're in. One of the things my son says is that when they used to get in trouble was that if my mama comes to court, I'll get free. But if my mama don't come to court, then they're gonna take me to jail.
Uh,
Even without me having to say anything.
yes,
being
yes,
there,
yes, yes.
I don't know. I do know that's what I was saying.
Like that.
Yeah. So their dependency on mothers is very important.
Is there anyone who can take Sister Pam's story and give it the same meaning as the sun rising and setting? If I go to jail and she's there, I get free. If she's not there, I go to jail. Okay, make that story, give that story meaning. I know it's coming. Who's ready? Is there anyone who has a song?
I guess it's kind of making me think of our witnessing and participating with the Son, and our freedom being tied together in a way.
Yes.
And that, you know, when you live in a basement, there's a totally different type of flavor going on in your life. You know, I notice it's like sometimes it can be a little bit harder if you're not really by any windows and
Yes.
you're not getting any natural light. It can
Yes.
really affect your sense of freedom. You know, yeah, I don't know.
I think the thing that I most want you to, and what I'm doing with my story, all of these years of living, has given me a sense that it is a continuing. It's a story that is continuing to evolve. Excuse me, which is why I have to look at where did it begin? The origin, the original story. Where did it begin? Which is why this is significant. Where did it begin?
I'll
Yes.
say that there's a really significant, you know, one of the really significant families to me in Minneapolis is the Cotman family.
Yes.
And watching, I met Bill first, and watching what kind of son and what kind of husband and what kind of father and what kind of uncle figure he walked as was very impactful for me.
Mhm.
And I did have the honor of being at his side for his last 2 days. And I had asked him if I could take some of his poetry and turn it into music.
Mm.
And he wasn't really verbal at that time, but he made some sounds and movements that the family told me, yes, that's him giving you permission.
Mm.
So two girlfriends of mine and I, we sang to him some of his poetry.
Mm.
And one of his poems that we were singing to him, the words are, I was born in circumstances. I live in situations. Time passes relentlessly. I make decisions.
Hmm.
And that's that whole piece. But it's really powerful to me because even what we're saying is like we can read, we can research, we can gather information and look at it and ask if it's true. And, I hear Bill in the way of saying, in the end, it's circumstance.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Situations, circumstances.
Yes, I was born in circumstances. I live in situations.
Yes.
Time passes relentlessly. I make decisions. And so,
Yes.
that participation.
But you also, what I heard that wasn't said is thinking of Mr. Cotton, because many of us knew them both very well. And you make me think of the mind of the Black mama is not necessarily only in the women. And that it is one of those pieces that I wanted also for us to really think on is that's why we're saying if mama is in the room, I do not go to jail. If she's not there, I do. So it's really, think about that metaphorically. It's the same kind of thing. That mind that you hold and have, to me, from origin, because for that mind to develop in the way it has and become what it is on the planet, I think that this particular story is significant to us because in this society, in this situation, this historical situation, it is actually a teaching for you to think that you have no original self, that you've only been created, and we have only been created by the situations that have been created for us to realize that we have not come from the Creator. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's very beautiful and very consistent. Do you see how whatever story you tell is connected to the story that gives birth to another story that gives birth either to the rising or falling of the sun? The rising or falling of the sun, the rising or quote unquote best setting of the sun, the best setting. We talk about our best self. So yes, you look like you're about to.
Because I've been thinking about when we originally started talking about the East and the West, I was thinking about polar opposites. And, in connection to my apprehension or distrust of what oftentimes Caucasian scientists come up with or discover, is this Western disruption of just, things that are natural. Polarity exists in most things. And so it's not, the sun rising or setting, it's rising and setting. And how this Westernization has disrupted and wants to compartmentalize everything. And it's not, you're right, it's not just the mother, it's the mother and the father, it's the masculine and the feminine that, exist in all of us. So whether the mother physically shows up, if she's there, quote unquote, alone, she's bringing all that with her, that masculine and that feminine. And so I'm just thinking about the tampering of just the ways that we, think about things and how it has taken us away from the connectedness of all things. So that's what I've been sitting here thinking about.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else?
As Sister Peace was talking, I thought about how when Elder Pam says they're always at war. And when you begin to think about the European or the Western thought pattern and the thought pattern and the ways of knowing of African people, we are always at war with that because it's not natural for us. It's not, there's really no place for us in that. And so we have our own place that we have created, but we just don't know that it is ours to possess. And it is polar opposite. You know, it is different thought patterns and different mindset and heart set and action, and you know, in the circumstances and the situations. It's yeah, I can feel that war that goes on. And I think it is intentional because they don't want us to rise. Because if there's a top, there has to be a bottom. And if there's, and if there's someone that's going to be on the top, they want to be on the top because they feel like that's theirs to possess. But we as African people, they couldn't do anything without us. This country was built on our blood, sweat, and tears, and and keeping us at the bottom. And the rising, it keeps on reminding me that we should rise, but we have to rise in a way that it's in unity, and it's our thought pattern that we use, and not adapting their ways of thinking and their ways of living.
I want to just see what your a part of a story of your life that fits with what you just said. I'm not a big fan of talking about they and them and what happened to us. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of talking about the consequences of that in changing our minds. The consequence that changed our mind, that gave us we now have a chance to reweave our understanding of ourselves in relationship to the beginning of creation. So where's the evidence lie that we have been, are, and will be here when all else is not? We have been here from the beginning. We must know that we do have a creation story, a story that puts us in creation, so that we can stop being preoccupied about the circumstances and situations, many of them that happened between our beginning and now the future, because there might not, we really and truly at this point have to have a vision of something that is unending, something that gives our generations that come after us 5, 6, 7, 10 generations down the path. What is the story that we will tell of our origin that give them a hope and vision that there is a future for us? Not a future tied to what is going on situationally, but tied to our existence on the planet and our existence in creation. So that's what I'm a fan of right now, because if we don't heal the memory from now to back when we from our origin, we will continue to repeat the situations and the circumstances as if there's nothing else to create. So think about that for a moment. And your life story, the situations that you are replacing with a different situation and a different memory. And I am suggesting that I'm working hard to do that through my sons. My sons have the capacity to build in such a way that the temples and so forth that I see as the longer lasting structures, where those temples and structures are right now. I don't have to go to where the scientists say, the quote unquote scientists, although I contend that most of the time the evidence says that we didn't exist. Here, I at least see that they're saying we did exist, and that person was in Ethiopia and not in some land in Europe. So that's the details to me are not as significant as the teaching that I can gain from something that gives credibility to my belief that I have been here from the beginning and will be here through the end. Does that make sense? My sons are significant to building that story in such a way that what we build will last forever, as do the temples. That's the story that the Cultural Wellness Center is the reason why I'm trying to build an institution with all of you and all of us, and to let the world see and know it, is because I want it to be lasting evidence that you were here in this room on this day, giving rebirth to the story of the sons, SONs rising, and the sun rising, and the Black mama and the womb of the Black mama having a significant role in that. Does that make sense? And I think I'm preaching to the choir. So let me hear from you, please.
Have you ever had to deal with somebody else's son?
Oh my goodness.
You know, and
Yes.
So how many of us have had to
especially a
deal with
son
the
that
father?
doesn't-
Yes.
a son that doesn't have right relationship with his mother,
Yes.
you know, and what kind of a man that turns out to be. You know what I mean?
We
when you
do,
have
so
to
tell
deal-
us about it.
deal
Tell
with
us
that.
your
And
experience
then I'm
with
thinking
that.
about
Yes.
your sons, the opposite of that, because I don't like to stay on the negative too long so the spirit doesn't get confused and think I love that. But I'm thinking also of your sons and well, okay, so the man that doesn't take good care of himself sometimes and hasn't been, you know, taken care of well or didn't appreciate or something went wrong, right? And so sometimes he doesn't treat his body very well.
Yes.
And he's okay when you don't either. He's okay with that. And he has like not a lot of respect for you and your body either. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And your sons are the opposite of that, right? I see that they really care about their bodies, right? They care about their health, right? About what they put into their bodies and how they use that energy, right? How they create more energy and things like that. So just taking care of their bodies, you know, and having a relationship with you, right? We all get to witness that you see them around you and that you guys, that you all collaborate with each other and help to lift each other up, help to raise each other, right?
It raised each other. Thank you. That is really, we want that to be visible. Raise each other. The rising is coming from both sides. Yes. Sorry for interrupting.
Not at all. I feel like that was a great place.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that the teaching about the health, the physical activity. How many people do not know the biking movement of biking and skiing and snowboarding and all the sledding, all the ways that our community is beginning to see that we too, Black people do ski and Black people do ride bikes and Black people do walk.
And go camping.
And go camping. And go camping, yes. And that's really the building of a story that my son, who you all probably know as Kebra, that's the work that he is doing.
Turning pain
Has
into
done.
power, alchemy. That's what I
Yes.
think about it as,
Yes.
alchemy. Cause yeah, this whole Lucy thing, it feels a little triggering, you know, cause it's like, yeah, I think they talking about a monkey, you know, we had that whole conversation. I'm like, I don't know about all that.
I'll be wanting to say, Lord, that's it.
But
But this is so powerful because this story brings up the part that you talked about, the triggering of going back to the monkey, and that makes you feel bad. Last time we talked about your son really climbing and knowing his relationship to being a monkey.
Mhm.
He had no problem with that.
Yeah.
The next day, here we are having this discussion. And
My daughter, my fourth daughter, so that's my second child. And my fourth child, she's only 4 right now. And I always have this practice of when I have the baby, as soon as they come out, I'm like, where were you before here? I know you can't talk yet, but I really want to know. I want you to talk to me about it.
Grandmothers
so I've
used to
always
do that.
asked everyone.
Yes.
And the fourth one, she said, I was in the jungle with a lot of monkeys. And I was very scared of them, but they took great care of me. And I was like, okay, but
this
that's
is-
two
But
references.
it's really powerful because, again, the healing of the memory and the tampering with the memory is part of what I continue to, those of you in the community, in the audience, I want to really make it clear that this is not jumping from one thing to another in terms of unintentional jumping. It's intentional to have you see that the story inside of you is the story you live by. The story inside of you, the one that has been placed inside of you, is not what you talk about. What you talk about is what they have done to me. What you have to see is what the quote unquote they have done is planted inside of us. The stories that put us in what? Direct opposition with creation. So we are afraid of monkeys and afraid to be affiliated with monkeys and afraid to be called a monkey. And then we, in that process, cannot understand the evolution, the upright walking that the creatures on the planet have evolved from and through. And it's an evolution story. And I'm not saying I'm saying it's a part of what we want to try to remember about ourselves from the beginning. So this is powerful to me, and I hope so in the community and around you can see the pieces of the original story that we know, but we don't put it together because we have learned to be afraid of certain pieces of the story of our existence. You are afraid. We are afraid to be the ones who gave birth to creation or are there with creation and within creation. That's where the fear is causing us to produce greater fear and produce greater things to be afraid of. And it shows up in many, many cases in our sons. Many, many cases in our sons. They are showing the fear we've had, the fear we've held on to, the walls of our teachings that came from fear, the fear we had of being sold, the fear we had of being prostituted, the fear we have of all of those things that are, as you say, negative. So negative that the perception is that we love the negativity, so we keep creating it. I'm taking your words, but you can see how that is not just a one sentence of yours. It's a sentence that really you can see in ourselves. Yes, Sister Letitia, you're about to.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying that. It's all true. And you see it play out in the world. And I'm like, it's so necessary for us to have a different vibration, to see different things, to
Yes.
hear different things in
Yes.
order for us to create a different space for our
Yes,
children. And
yes.
it's funny that you say that we recreate circumstances like that's drama filled, and we do.
Over and over again.
Over
yes.
and over again, and we watch it, and we pay people to recreate it. But what is it about that drama, that feeling, that we recreate, that we yearn so, you know, and that but I say I'm exhausted from it. I'm exhausted from it, and it's time to
Yes.
recreate a different vibration on what I see, I hear, what my children see and hear, what the story they will tell about their grandmother. I have a
Yes.
pleasant one to tell about my grandmother, but it's not all, you know, because we often glam things up, you know, but I know the feeling that I get from her now. What it would have been like if I got it when, you know, when I was younger. It's everything to have her pour into me at 90 years old. You know, it's
Yes,
everything.
yes.
But
And what she pours into you at 90
yeah,
is very different.
than what she poured when I was 19. When I was 19. When I was 10. It was a different grandmother then, you know, and
And
just
so what she poured in at those times, do you remember stories of things that were negative that she was pouring into you?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
I remember negative ones and positive ones.
Mhm.
Even in the moments now where I didn't want to be in the kitchen, didn't want to be in the house. Why me? You know. But now thinking about, oh, that's why me. That's why. I
Because
had
you're
to
one
be
of
in
the
the
best
kitchen.
chefs, best cooks around.
Period.
Yeah, that's why me. And you know, just that those unspoken lessons, and not realizing the things that we teach when we just move it,
Yes.
and just wanting to be a different story told when my granddaughter that I see myself in so much tells her story,
Yes,
you know, of her grandmother.
that's right.
Because I didn't hear my grandfather tell stories about his grandmother, but he was a great grandfather. In him being such a great man, it had to come from the mother. You know,
That's correct.
it had to come from the mother.
That's right.
If no matter where I was at or what I was doing, and oftentimes I had no business. But if I would call this man, he would come.
Yes, ma'am.
And oftentimes people, you know, say, I commend you for, you know, the things you do with your grandchildren. It's like it's what we do, is what my grandmother did, is what I know to do,
Mhm.
is what I seen her do, you know, and just making sure the in-betweens are different.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always at this point that we look at the clock and realize that our time is up for today. But Sister Letitia, I think it's powerful to stop here today and just give each of you a chance to see this idea of what is taught is not necessarily taught verbally. Like she didn't say, I'm going to make you do this because I want you to be the best cook in the world. She didn't say, I want you to know how to, if you can't make a living no other way, you will be able to be a cook and you will be able to make a living doing that. Even though nothing else, you know what I'm saying, may not be available to you, this is going to be available to you. And the other side of it, of course, is the importance of food as medicine and food as the distributor of love. And you sit down at the soul food table, and there is the memory that comes when you sit at the table and eat the food of the grandmother, the great grandmother, or the great 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 grandmother, because the recipes have been passed down without being spoken. Right now, that's the biggest thing going, is people are talking about soul food. And once again, our people connected soul food to the food that comes from the soul, and I would suggest the survival and also the teachings and the carrying of our culture with us wherever we go. I want you to know how much I appreciate you being able to piece together the story of your life and relate it to Black mamas. And there is a science to this. And I contend that the Institute of Human Origins, this institute, is doing the same thing we're doing, only we're doing it from experience and knowing. And I know that there will be questions about your story as legitimate too. But guess what? We are going to make it, we're going to legitimize it in this space at this time in this institution. They have legitimized it in that time with their story in their institution. Do we do that enough? And I suggest no. But are we going to continue doing? Absolutely yes. Does that make sense? This is what we're doing, in case you were wondering. In case the people who have been here for the previous sessions are wondering, when we all come together, is there a song? We will all come together. I know there's a song in a gospel song that speaks to that. I know it. I just know it. But we will all come together for a time when we will relive these stories, retell these stories, and show that it is institutionalizing the Black mama's mind. Does that make sense?
Mm.
I so appreciate you doing that. Last word.
Let's see. No. There's a joy inside of me that keeps bringing closer to the top. Ever since you first said that you wanted to do this series, Black Mothers, Sons Rising. And this is going to go down in history. This is going to be our documentation, for many, many years down the road.
Yes.
So I thank you for giving us this opportunity to do this.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes. Yes. Last word.
I'm thinking of Ella's song. Ella Baker's song that's We Who Believe in Freedom Cannot Rest. A really super favorite of Brother Mel Reeves. And,
Yes.
And it says at the beginning, until the killing of Black men, Black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. Now, I'm in an a cappella group as well. And we sing that song sometimes. And when we sing it, we say, until the loving of Black men, Black mothers' sons is as important as the loving of white men. And now I'm thinking there's a new way to sing it, which would be until the raising of Black men, Black mothers' sons is as important as the raising. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Until the raising of Black mothers' sons. Until the raising of Black mothers' sons. Amazing, thank you. Oh, goodness. I know, Miss Pam, how can you top that, right? But don't try, just, yes.
I'm thinking that, you never know what you're walking in. And I think doing this, it gives us an opportunity to stand still and feel what you call the vibration. And to think about what has happened, but not only, it's like what you can do moving forward.
Yes, ma'am.
So changing the vibration.
Yes, ma'am.
What I think is so interesting is that we all be feeling the same thing at the same time, but we all, may act differently because, like, it's just something that's like record.
Yes.
The time is now. Record. And that's just amazing how we all be feeling the same thing at the same time, and we don't be sure about it, so sometimes we don't say nothing.
Right.
We all be thinking the same thing at the same time. Record. The time is now. Because today we're making history.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Frankie, Beverly, and Mays, we are one.
Okay, I hear it.
That's in my spirit. That's in my spirit. And as Elder Pam talked about us sitting still, I was thinking about soundness and this resonance of peace. Hotep. And groundedness. So that's what's coming up for me.
I don't know the song all the words, but we are.
We are one. No matter how I go say we are one. Hey. Still we are one. And that's the way it is.
I like the fact that when you can't sing, you sing anyway.
Period.
When you can't sing, you sing anyway.
That was so polite.
So nicely put.
Listen, I'm one of the ones who can't sing the song.
Listen, I'm not about those words whatsoever.
That's
You
right.
can talk, you can sing.
That's
And
right.
I didn't interrupt either of y'all because sometimes I can tend to do that, but it allows me to hear your voices, which are unique and beautiful to my ears. So I was really, just appreciating and
Yes,
soaking
and you-
in that. And then also when you were talking, it reminded me of Solange Knowles and her song, I Saw Things I Imagined. And just making sure, like we were saying, somebody, my ex, excuse me, dirty laundry, but okay, so, but he did something with my money again, and this is something that's happened through the years where he's touching my money that he's not supposed to be touching. And I almost got carried away thinking about it. I would wake up thinking about it. I would go to sleep, and so every time, and I was like, this is not how I want to go to bed and how I want to rise, So I was just thinking, like, if I keep thinking like this and waking up with it and going to bed with it, the spirit's going to be like, she likes problems. Give her some more of those, And I'm like, man, I'm only sitting here thinking about paper.
That's correct.
When
That's correct.
actually I'm walking in my purpose and my passion, and I have too many things to celebrate and congratulate myself over right now. And I'm like doing all this and really on this marathon of really walking in my purpose and really being called on for so many things and getting testimonies from each interaction.
Yes,
And then I'm going to sit here and think about this issue? No, I'm not.
that's right.
Yes. And so I love it to be keeping your mind on things above, right? And keeping on thinking about higher thoughts, right? And sometimes that also means not turning the radio on, not jumping in to say something, not like, you know, sometimes making sure to have more silence, more space.
That's right.
You know, so that you can also be poured into, so that you can also be communicated with.
That's right.
So you can also be thinking about the things that are that are elevating
Yes.
you, that you want to, where you want to go, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
it's going to keep on being revealed to you through your intuition and things about how to get there, right? And then you can have your faith strengthened and your patience and all of these things, you know? So it's a beautiful thing. But yes, there's music everywhere, and we're always being, you know, reminded of these songs and things, but it's best if they are uplifting. If
That's
they are
correct.
the right
That's
things.
correct.
That's right.
You know,
That's
just
right.
like good food and good exercise,
Yes.
but also what do we put in our spirits and what music do we have playing around our children, you know, and things like
Yes.
that. So.
Go ahead on, Sister Letitia.
I ain't saying nothing.
You said a lot, but it's okay. So, thank you. My heart, my mother.
Mhm.
My heart, my mother. My heart of my existence upon earth. May she not rise up to oppose me.
Hmm.
My heart, my mother.
May she not.
Rise up to oppose me.
Mm.
And there is more, and there is more next week.
Yes.
And we will see you then. And we'll see you in between. I know we will. So for those of you in the community, yes.
I think we've had our biggest audience. No comments, well, comments, but no questions.
Hmm.
Just saying amen to that. Beautiful to all you. And J. Devon Nolan, who's been
Hey.
here,
Yes.
she sends her love and says, say that.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right. Folks, thank you so very much. I was just going to say, in the community, we thank you. We want to really develop what we call followers.
Mm.
So if you guys want to send this on to anybody, and really we began to create the following, which means that there will be more than our what looks like a half circle. It is not a half circle. There are circles and circles of people who are joining us, women and men. And we want to say, please continue to join us. We're going to keep this going.
Mhm.
And I just want to also end by saying to Anthony or Kebra,
Mhm.
to Robert, who feeds us amazingly good food and prepared by his own hands of his grandmother and all of those. And to Nevin, who is walking in grace with each of us and loves you all and hear you and is being introduced to you, and who, even if haven't met you, is being introduced to you through this. So we thank you very much, each of you. And we say blessings, be at rest, be at peace, and be free.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thank you.
Make
Okay.
sure that you follow us on our Facebook pages, both the Cultural Wellness Center and the Community Health Hub. Get on and follow.
Yes,
Peace.
thank you. Thank you so much. Peace.